right, let's take a look again here at Genesis 3. So it says this: when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave some to her husband, who was with her. Everybody say, who was with her? Who was with her? He was right there. He was just standing right there. All right. Who was with her? And he ate. Then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. Now, this is the third tactic, which possibly is the most deceptive tactic that I think the enemy is still using today. First, remember, he questions God's word. Second thing, he contradicts it. Now, this third thing, he kind of tells about a half-truth. He actually uses truthful information to deceive. And I think we see that a lot today. He says, you will be like God. There's actually a verse later in that passage where God even says, now they will be like us, knowing good from evil. But the problem is that God knew we weren't supposed to have that knowledge. It wasn't good for us. But I think we see a similar statement today. It's been modernized, right? You will be like God. You know what? Live out your true, authentic desires. Be your true, authentic self. In fact, I think culturally speaking, this is like the highest virtue. Be your true, authentic self. I did a radio interview with Janet Parshall, and she said, the greatest thing, I wish I would have thought of it, I wish I would have said it. She said, Lord, save me from my true, authentic self, right? All right, let's dig into this first one. Live your truth. And parents in the room, I love that we're integrating culture and family together with Colson Center and Focus on the Family. If there's one thing that you can pound into your kids' heads at a very young age, that's the definition of truth. So pay attention here, because this is like something we can catechize our kids with. But first, we have to understand a worldview called postmodernism. Now, postmodernism, it's a historical movement. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I think most succinctly it can be summarized as a philosophy that's deeply skeptical of objective truth and suspicious of the power dynamics of those who claim to know it. Now, let me explain this. We are living in a postmodern culture. If there's anybody under about 25 in the room right now, I want to tell you that if you don't think carefully about your worldview, if you don't carefully construct the lens through which you see the world, which, by the way, everybody has a worldview. Every single person sees the world in a particular way. If you're under 25 and you do not carefully think about what your worldview is, you will be postmodern, because that is the dominant worldview of your culture. Studies have shown among Gen Z that moral relativism, meaning morality, what we should and shouldn't do, what we ought or ought not do, they believe that this is just a matter of opinion. So please think through your worldview and know the definition of truth. But the definition of truth that rules postmodernism is a view called relativism. And relativism is the idea that truth is just relative to your historical context, maybe your ethnic background, your place in history, maybe relative to your culture or your family. But that's not how truth works. At the end of relativism, you just have the idea that truth is not absolute, but it's just relative to your culture, your society, historical context. But are you ready for the big reveal? The real definition of truth. And this is something that you can catechize with your kids. Truth is a statement that lines up with reality. That seems so simple, right? That's common sense. We shouldn't even have to say it. A more simple way for the younger kids is truth. What is truth? Truth is what is real. Right? And we want to be people that strive to line up what we believe, to line up what we say with what is real. That's the definition of truth. But our culture has lost the plot on this. But I want to tell you why this is so important, especially as Christians. Think about the way that most people approach religion today. Think about your friends that you see on social media. You all probably have a friend like this. Somebody goes on Instagram and they post a Bible verse, and you go, oh, maybe they're a Christian, right? And then the next day, they post a Buddha quote. And then the next day, they post, a positive affirmation. And then there's a picture of them with some crystals. And you're like, what is going on? I thought there was Bible. And that's because most people in a postmodern culture do not approach religion as if it's in the category of truth, being fixed and objective outside of me, the subject, right? They basically cobble together some things that work, some practical steps, things that give me more peace in my life, maybe make me a nicer person, reduce my stress, right? And some of those things might even work. They might feel like they're working. But a good friend of mine said, the devil will make sure something works for you as long as it's not true.
Well, I hope you have found this discussion not only inspiring, but also informative. Christians have to be able to think, especially in this constantly changing culture, from a Christian worldview. To learn more and to find more discussions, please visit lighthousevoices.org. That's lighthousevoices.org.